The government is now gearing up to amend the Local Election Act to make it compatible to the Constitution. However, the ruling alliance and the main opposition have differing views on the issue, as the opposition has maintained on non-necessity of the amendments. The scenario only indicates that the political forces are once again trying to use the timing of the polls to suit their own political interest, regardless of laws or general understanding. Good morning, I'm Amar Singh Pradhan, and these are the top stories of the hour. The dispute regarding American Assistant Millennium Challenge Corporation flares up within the ruling alliance as Premier Deuba seeks urgency to forward the MCC bill. The ruling party is in a mindset to declare early local elections, initiate discussions with legal experts to amend 3 clauses of the Local Election Act. The UN says nearly 1,500 children recruited by Yemen's Houthi rebels died in fighting in 2020 and hundreds more in the year 2021. And Mohamed Salah makes his mark as Egypt sailed into African Cup of Nations last 4 to set up the semi-final clash against Cameroon. Senegal also through to semis. The dispute regarding American Assistance Millennium Challenge Corporation, or MCC, has flared up within the ruling alliance as Prime Minister Sir Bahadur Deuba has put pressure to move ahead with the MCC bill through the Parliament. According to a source of the ruling alliance, Premier Deuba, during a meeting of the alliance on Saturday, remarked that the MCC can no longer be blocked any longer. However, coordinator of the MCC study team and Unified Socialist leader Jalnath Khanal has taken a stand that the agreements reached by the Nepali Congress and CPN-UML governments in 2017 and 2019 cannot be moved forward. Leader Khanal has said that member duo of the MCC study team, government spokesperson Gyanendra Bahadur Karki and CPN Mao Center leader Narayan Kaji Shrestha also have differing views on the MCC agenda. Coordinator of the team, Khanal, has conceded that the team has not even been able to present a written recommendation due to the persisting disputes. Meanwhile, differences on the MCC agenda have also surfaced within the Nepali Congress as well. Nepali Congress leader Shekhar Koirala's stand that MCC should be presented at the Parliament only after arriving at a consensus within the 5-party alliance has been viewed as significant. The ruling alliance had formed a 3-member MCC study team on 19th of December last year to carry out a study on MCC and turn in a report. Due to the ongoing disputes, the study team has not been able to prepare a report yet. Top leaders are of the opinion that MCC should be endorsed in favor of national interest, while main opposition CPN-UML is adopting a wait-and-watch strategy. The ruling alliance, following intense pressure, has reached a mindset for early elections of the local level. The ruling parties have initiated discussions with legal experts to amend 3 clauses of the Local Election Act. With preparations to hold the local polls between mid-May and June, the ruling alliance has initiated efforts to amend some of the clauses of the Local Election Act that has clashed with the constitutional provision. Clause 3 of the Act states that the local polls need to be held 2 months prior to the expiry of the term of the office bearers. However, since the local polls last time was held in 3 phases, there is confusion over the consideration of one date. Likewise, Clause 4 of the Act, which termed the date as one time, has already become dysfunctional, which is also being amended. Clause 3 will now be amended in line with the provision in the Constitution with the provision to announce local elections, while Clause 4 will decide which law to follow. Likewise, Clause 55 on the term of the office bearers has been deemed incomplete and is going to be amended. Meanwhile, it is still not clear whether the amendment of the Act will be proceeded through Parliament or ordinance. In the face of continuous disruption of parliamentary proceedings by the main opposition CPN-UML and the stand that the Local Level Election Act does not need any changes, the amendment bill, if tabled at the Parliament, could prove a hard nut to crack. The number of migrant workers leaving the country has gone up in recent time. On the contrary, remittances have failed to keep pace with the high number of people opting for foreign employment. Remittances that went up by 14% even during the first wave of the COVID pandemic stands at its lowest in 5 years, which experts attribute to the informal and even illegal means of financial transactions. Around 1,800 youths left the country every day for foreign employment before the COVID pandemic. However, since the global pandemic began, industries halted their works, businesses slowed down, and many Nepali workers working abroad were compelled to return home. The outflow of migrant workers came to a standstill during the first wave. Back then, remittances were expected to plummet. However, the country received 352 billion rupees in remittance by December 2020. Surprisingly, remittances during the same period in 2021 came down to 326 billion rupees, which is the lowest in the past 5 years. Studies have shown much of Nepal's remittance is used for consumable items, education, health, and investments. The use of informal and at times illegal means of transactions, according to experts, will affect the country's balance of payment, the foreign currency reserve, and social development. Around 7,840 Nepali nationals left the country for employment in 2020, while 131,000 went for foreign employment in 2021. Despite the number of migrant workers leaving the country increasing significantly, remittances have decreased in recent time. Meanwhile, government policy of providing an additional 1% interest on remittance has remained ineffective, and there is a call on the government to better monitor the state of affairs. Minister for Water Supply Umakant Chaudhary has reiterated his commitment to resume Melamchi drinking water project by March. The minister said repair works have been expedited at the Melamchi project that had sustained significant damages during monsoon earlier this year. The cabinet meeting held on 14th of January earlier this month had decided to provide 360 million rupees to recontract Sino Hydro Company for the repair works. The company had originally worked in the Melamchi project. Minister Chaudhary has said the ministry is assessing the damages caused by the monsoon flood, the factors that led to the damages, and the prospects for conservation of the area to avoid such a scale of disaster in future. And in our Public Voice segment, we had asked the residents of several provinces how do they remember the martyrs. Let's take a look at what they have to say.
आफैले बोकेको बन्दुक पड्केर मरेकाहरूलाई पनि शहीद, भिरबाट लडेकाहरूलाई पनि शहीद मान्ने र घोषणा गर्ने हाम्रो जो प्रचलन छ, यो प्रचलनले ती देश र जनताको लागि जीवनलाई बलिदानी दिने शहीदहरूप्रति अपमान भयो कि जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ।
यो देशलाई उहाँको रगतले विकास भएको सम्झिन्छ।
यथार्थ शहीद हो कि होइन भनेर पत्ता लगाएर सरकारले पनि छानबिन गरोस्।
नेपालीहरूको हक अधिकार प्राप्तिको लागि जुन शहादत प्राप्त गर्नुभएको छ,
नेपाल र नेपाली भनेर चिनाउने वातावरण जुन शहीदहरूले गर्नुभएको छ, उहाँलाई हामीले उच्च सम्मानका साथ हेर्नुपर्छ। शहीद भनेको अब यो देशको लागि एउटा गहना जस्तै हो।
आज उहाँहरूको उचित मूल्याङ्कन भइरहेको अवस्था छैन।
And now time for our segment Public Pulse, where it texts us with their opinion. And the question is, why has remittance collection dwindled despite an increase of people going abroad for employment? Your options are option A, thriving illegal transactions, option B, no effective policies, and option C, lack of monitoring. The voting is on. Type in AWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And those were our latest headlines. Our next English bulletin will be at 11 a.m. this morning. Have a good day.